like we are going to. It looks like we are going to start with roll call.
Thank you. Councilmember Andrews,
Here.
Councilmember Ellis,
Yes, here. Thank you.
Councilmember Francie, Councilmember Francie, Councilmember Gordon,
Here.
Councilmember Cashman,
Here.
Councilmember Mackey,
Here.
Councilmember Meskis,
Present.
Councilmember Richrod, Councilmember Richrod,
Looks like he's here, but he's on mute.
I'll come back. Councilmember Ross,
Sorry, Joshua Francie just logged in as well.
okay. Councilmember Francie,
Here.
thank you. Councilmember Richrod again. Councilmember Ross,
Here.
Councilmember Shaw,
Here.
Councilmember Short,
I'm not sure how exactly when to excuse Councilmember Short, but I would, if not now, later we will excuse her.
okay. Councilmember Taylor,
Here.
Mayor Shave,
Here.
okay. So Councilmember Richrod, I see him, but I can't hear him, so I'll leave him, I'll mark him as present. And so we only have Councilmember Short absent.
She was in public safety, so she could be trying to join the meeting. Just so you're aware, President Shaw.
Thank you.
He's here. Good evening.
I see Councilmember Richrod is live now.
Yes. Well, I don't know about live, but
So we don't have any guest speakers tonight. So at this time, I'll call on each of our department heads to share any information they'd like us to have before the meeting starts, or any non-agenda items they've been working on that they want to share with us. We'll start with our Community Development Director, Lisa Scott.
Thank you, Council President Shaw, City Council, and Mayor. We've spent the last couple of weeks really working on the comprehensive plan. We had a community meeting last week, met with the consultants again yesterday. We have a survey out right now. There is instructions on how to get to that survey on the very front page of the city's website. Really want to thank Liz for Councilmember Ellis for all of her work. She's been trying to sign people up to get them interested in filling out the survey. So we have seen some increased requests, as well as people who wanted to be on the listserv for future meetings. So I really appreciate everything that you've done. Thank you very much for that. We have one item that we were asking to add to the agenda tonight under finance, and I will defer that to Councilmember Kochman for discussion under finance. Also, the demolition is almost complete at 419 East Heron. If you've driven by, you've seen definitely a difference in the landscape. That's going well, and I know the adjacent property owners are very much happy that that is no longer an issue of pulling down their buildings. So thank you to the City Council for that. And then the last thing is we continue to be busy in community development with permit processing. We're at over 1,500 permits so far, and we're not at the end of August. So we continue to see an increase. It is starting to slow a little bit, which will allow us to catch our breath. I guess I did have one more item, and that is we do have on the agenda, the Human Resources Director is going to be bringing forward finally the additional position in community development for code compliance, and we are extremely ecstatic so we could start being a little bit more reactive on the complaints and be able to follow up. So I'm here if you have any questions. If not, thank you very much.
Council President Shaw, Margot Short is an intent, oh, never mind. Somebody got her. They brought her in.
I did, thank you.
So Margot, thank you for joining us tonight. You're now accounted for. Was that what you had, Councilmember Andrews? Okay, so Councilmember Ellis, you had a question?
Yeah, maybe more of a comment. Lisa, this might be a good time to also mention when the next public meeting will be for the comp plan that people could connect with.
Yeah, sure. We don't have that scheduled yet. But we will work with the consultants. We just met yesterday to go over that schedule, so they haven't confirmed it yet, but we will have that out very soon and on the website.
Thank you. Any other questions for Director Scott? Not seeing any. Next is our Corporation Counsel, Interim Corporation Counsel, Forrest, here tonight.
Oh, I'm attending in Forest Place, and
Oh.
I don't have anything to add.
Thank you. I also usually, Judge Solon is represented by Corporation Counsel, so we'll move to our Finance Director, Patricia Sol.
Thank you. I will defer to the Finance Committee Chair, Katie Cashman, in regards to comments for the Finance Department. Thank you.
Fire Chief Hubbard.
Good evening, Tom Hubbard, Fire Chief, Aberdeen Fire Department. Public Safety met at 6:30 tonight, and I'll defer comment to Chair Tawny Andrews.
Thank you. Our Human Resources Director, Debbie Mills.
Good evening. I would just like to say that I will defer any Personnel Committee items to the Chair, Mayor Shave.
Thank you. Our Parks Director, Stacy Barnum.
I don't have anyone to defer to. I do have a few things I want to update the council on. For the capital facilities request for proposals, I sent out to about 200 consultants and received one submission. So we'll be reviewing that. I contacted SCJ Alliance for a cost estimate for the necessary repairs at the pedestrian bridge that leads into Morrison Park. They had put together a plan of what needs to be done in order to do the repairs. So they're doing the first two steps. They're going to evaluate the existing condition of the bridge and the supports and the road nearby. And then they'll have to provide us with an alternatives analysis. So they'll work with city staff. They'll do utility locates and mapping, look at the damage below that's in the water, do some geotechnical analysis, and then they can put together some alternatives for us and what they would anticipate those costs to be. And then most importantly, tomorrow night at 5:30 is the Garley Park celebration. So we're hoping to have as many of you attend. And of course, the community is invited. We'll be celebrating both the new playground area and the dog park, which are both very popular. And they turned out great. So tomorrow at 5:30 at Garley Park in South Aberdeen, it's right across the street from Alpha Media, Grace Harbor, off of, shoot, why am I drawing a blank here? Coolidge?
Coolidge and Harriman, is that it?
Coolidge and Harriman, thank you. Coolidge and Harriman. So hope to see you tomorrow night.
Huntley.
Huntley, thank you, Rick. That's all I have, unless anyone had any questions.
Does anyone have any questions for Director Barnum? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our Police Chief, Steve Schumake.
Thank you, Council President Shaw. And as Chief Hubbard made mention, Public Safety did meet earlier this evening, so I will defer most of that to Public Safety Chair Tawny Andrews. The one area I'd like to highlight actually does include you and Tawny, and that is our volunteers. I just want to highlight that for the month of July, our volunteers did contribute 177.5 hours of time. We'd like to attribute that $15 an hour scale just to see what that is, though I submit they're all worth far more than that. So that does attribute to $2,662.50 for the month. But what's impressive for the year so far, our VIPs have put in nearly 1,100 hours of time to our community. So I'm just very thankful for that. Other than that, I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for the chief? Well, I think I am a far distant second to Councilmember Andrews when it comes to where I fit on those numbers, but
She does an awesome job.
But I will say,
Councilmember Andrews.
if you do $15 an hour at 1,900 or 1,097, it's $16,462.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Though you're worth much more. Councilmember Ellis.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know from a little bit distant perspective that Assistant Chief did a very admirable job filling in for you at the barbecue judging table. And that seemed to go very well. And the officers who were there on the electric bikes were also a real hit with a lot of youth.
Yes, that's what I
That was
understand.
great.
Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, I was bummed. I had actually a wedding that I had to be at, but we were sweating it a little bit because he cannot have seafood. So fortunately, that ended up not being on the menu. But it was a good time. I understand.
It looked like a good event.
See, if I had been
So-
cooking, he would have been subjected to tofu. So
Not seafood though. So thank you.
So seeing no more questions for our police chief, we'll move on to our Public Works Director, Rick Sagner.
Good evening. Public Works met yesterday at 4 o'clock. I believe we have 4 items on the agenda, and we're asking our chair to bring forward 2 others that weren't on the agenda. So hopefully that won't be an issue. I'll leave those reports to our chair, and if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Anyone have any questions for Director Sagner? Not seeing any. Thank you very much.
Just the
We
way
know
I like
you're-
it.
We know you're busy. Next is the mayor's report. Do you have anything for us tonight, Mayor Shea?
I think most everything's been touched on, but that I was going to talk about. Under the special agenda items that was mentioned, obviously, you're all pretty much well aware of the code compliance specialist job that report number 1 refers to. Report number 2 is the job to replace our magnificent city do-it-all person, Wayne Schmidt. Wayne is going to be retiring after the first of the year. And so we want to get a person in place that can start right at the first of the year to replace him, so that he'll have time to transition, because it's a huge job, and Wayne has been a huge asset to the city for many years. Also, this job will not actually be a police officer. It'll be a support services supervisor job, but not a police officer. So those are just a couple of highlights on those 2 subjects. And that's all I had. Everything else was already talked about. Well, one more thing. I would like to mention that, and Rick, you can step in and help here, but the money that we pulled out for a couple of downtown cleanup guys is spent now. So at the end of I think at the end of August, we'll be spent from that. So Rick is looking for another source of funding, I believe. Yeah, go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, the original 20,000 was for 2 employees. And we were going to hire them through Express. What we did instead was we reimbursed from one, and we reimbursed just through our budget and Public Works for the other. So we made it last a lot longer than it ever was intended to last. And it's costing about a little over $3,000 a month for that employee. And at the end of August, we are going to be out of that 20,000 is going to be expended. And so we believe we can cover a couple more months just through our Public Works budget. That's important. It's not quite in the purview of what Public Works does, as clean up and picking up those garbage, but we're happy to do it because I hope everybody has noticed what an improvement it's been with no shopping carts and the garbage, and we're going through and we're flushing the alleys once a month, and we're sweeping the streets every Thursday or Friday before the weekends, just to make sure the garbage is all picked up. Those guys are also out there at least once a week with blowers blowing the trash to the gutter so we can pick it up with our sweeper. So there's a lot of positive. I think I drive through it weekly, just looking for trouble areas, and I think they're doing a fantastic job. I would really like to keep them on. So that is something we will be looking to bring a committee report forward in the upcoming meetings. So hopefully we can get some support there.
Thanks, Rick.
Yep.
It's been real clear that this has made a tremendous positive difference, and it's been very effective. So I just thought I wanted to get everybody informed tonight that we're trying to figure out how to continue funding this. So, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is a non-standing committee reports. And each council member will have a chance to share what they've been doing since we last met. First, I'll call on Councilmember Tawny Andrews.
I have nothing to report tonight.
Thank you. Councilmember Ellis.
Thank you. I've been continuing to be involved in the comprehensive plan process. And as Director Scott mentioned, I had a really fun time at the Summerfest, talking with a lot of people about the comprehensive plan, and eating some really good food, and seeing our very own Chef Shave at work. So that was quite fun. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Francie.
I have nothing to report. Besides, I'm caring for my daughter right now, so if I'm away from my video, I'm making sure she's okay.
Thank you. Councilmember Gordon.
Nothing at this time.
Thank you. Councilmember Cashman.
I have nothing at this time.
Thank you. Councilmember Mackey.
I have nothing this evening. Thank you.
Councilmember Meskis.
Thank you very much. So last Wednesday, along with Councilmember Ellis and I think a few other Mayor Shave and I can't remember who else was there, we attended the comprehensive plan workshop that was held, and it was open to the community. There wasn't a lot of community involvement at that particular workshop, so I really hope anybody out there that wants to know what it is that is going on in these keeps their eyes open on the city's website and all of our social medias and that kind of thing. So you can actually have some involvement, because we need your input on here. This is your city too, so this is your chance to come and give your input on these items that we're working on. So I really encourage everybody that if you can make these workshops, definitely do it. At the very least, you will walk away more informed about what's going on with our city and what the plans are. And last night I attended the Historical Seaport Board meeting, and things are looking up. They're getting out of the pandemic rut and really starting to get things moving with their event center and other opportunities. One of the things we talked about was setting up a sailing school. There's a franchise opportunity to actually bring some instructors into the area and teach people how to sail sailboats in the 19 to 27 foot range, which is the range of the Lady Washington, but also, you know, people that might want to have a boat, you know, in one of the harbors around here and take it out for a sail. You know, they can come down here and learn how to sail it. So hopefully we'll see that moving along and bring some people into the area that want to learn how to sail. And that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Richrod.
I too attended the Summerfest. This was only the second one, and it was quite well attended, and a good time was had by all. And that's really about all I've got.
Thank you. Councilmember Ross.
Thank you. Yes, I also participated in the workshop on the comprehensive plan. And I also encourage anyone who has questions or is interested in the process to join us the next time we have a public meeting. I attended a gateway meeting a couple of days ago to discuss an agenda item that's coming up tonight. And then I volunteered at Summerfest Saturday, and it really was a great event. And it was a lot of fun. That's it for me. Thank you.
Debbie was my helper. She did a great job.
That's right. I got to be Mayor Shave's assistant for his
She did a
famous
great job.
cheeseburgers. So, it was fun.
Well, I got to see a lot of pictures on Facebook, and it made me really kind of, gosh, go us. That looked like a really
Yeah.
nice time.
It was a great day.
So Councilmember Short, do you have anything for us tonight?
I'm just trying to get on you. I'm on, I can hear you, but I can't see you. So
Okay,
I'll get there.
all right. Well, we're just glad you're here. Councilmember Taylor?
I have nothing. Thank you.
Okay. Well, unless any members have anything else they want to bring up, that will conclude our committee of the whole tonight. And I'll turn the meeting over to the mayor.
Councilmember Richrod has his hand up.
Oh, go ahead, Councilmember Richrod.
One thing I have it written on my notes, and I have to remember to look at my notes. During the Summerfest, the power in the block on Broadway went out. The city power went out, and the people at the burger booth told me, Mayor Shave, he made a phone call, and within a half an hour, the city electrician was down there and fixed it. And a big shout out to those guys for doing that
Yes.
on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that up, Alan.
Thank you. So not seeing anyone else, I will adjourn our committee of the whole meeting and turn it over to the mayor.
Thank you. This is Mayor Shave, and it's Wednesday, August 25th, 2021 at 7:39 p.m. And I call the Aberdeen City Council meeting to order. Could we start with a roll call, please?
Councilmember Andrews,
Here.
Councilmember Ellis,
Happy to be here.
Councilmember Francie,
Here.
Councilmember Gordon,
Here.
Councilmember Cashman, here, Councilmember Mackey,
Here.
Councilmember Meskis,
Present.
Councilmember Richrod,
Here.
Councilmember Ross,
Here.
Councilmember Shaw,
Here.
Councilmember Short,
Here.
Councilmember Taylor,
Here.
Mayor Shave,
Here,
everyone's here.
thank you. Public comments and public hearing comments are included during the Zoom video meetings.
Mayor
The pub-
Shea, are we gonna do the minutes?
Oh, he not got for it yet.
Yeah, I'll get to the minutes.
Well, I guess my thing is out of order here. I'm sorry.
Public comments and public hearing comments are included during the Zoom video meeting. The public was notified that if they wish to speak during the meeting, an email be sent to Patricia Soul, City Clerk, and indicate if they would like to speak or have the clerk read the comment. If they desire to comment live, they will be called on during the meeting and allowed to speak for 3 minutes. Written comments are provided before the meeting to all the city council members and will be included in the records. Next thing I'd like to say is I'm glad to see Margot is here tonight.
But you can't see me.
But you're here and that's awesome.
Thank
I'd
you.
like to, it's sad to acknowledge that Bob passed away. For those of you who are wondering, Bob Short, Margot's husband, passed away last week. Bob was a longtime city council member, a very valuable asset to the city of Aberdeen, like Margot, and has done a tremendous amount for the benefit of this city. And it's just a real sad thing to see him on. Bob was also a teacher at Miller Junior High for many, many years. So I suspect there's not too many people out there that didn't know Bob in some way or another.
Many
So
years at the high school too.
And yeah, so Margot, we're all sad that Bob is gone, and our condolences go out to you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes.
I'll move for approval of the minutes.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Is there any discussion? Under
Yes,
discussion.
Mayor Shave, I'd like to offer an amendment to the minutes. A number was not assigned to the resolution regarding the proposed vacation on Lee Street on the August 11th meeting. And so I would move to amend the minutes of the previous meeting to reflect the assignment of number 2021-18 to this resolution as provided by the city clerk.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to add the amendment to the minutes of the previous meeting. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Now I will accept the motion on the minutes as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to approve the minutes of the previous meeting as amended. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to additions or deletions. Are there any additions?
Mayor.
Yes. Councilmember Meskis.
Thank you. Public Works has actually 3 additions. We have 2 reports and 1 resolution. The first report is a proposed vacation of portions of Polk Street, Lee Street, and adjoining alley. It's just an update on some verbiage. The second report is the HDR on-call task order number 9 execution for the North Shore Levee Project Management Amendment 1. And then we have a resolution to set a public hearing date mentioned in one of the previous reports. I would move that we add these to the Public Works portion of the agenda.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is made and seconded to add these reports and resolution to the agenda in Public Works. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Were there anything else to add? Councilmember Catchman.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to add a report from finance and the community development director recommending the council approve a request to hire Rock Project Management Services for the Gateway Center project management.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Motion was made, seconded to add a report from community development for rock management. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Was there anything else from the council on additions or deletions? Okay, seeing none. We'll move on to public comments on all topics. Or if you want to comment at a public hearing, a written request must be submitted to the city clerk. City Clerk Sol, do you have any public comments?
We have 3. So I'll start reading.
Thank you.
First public comment is from Don Lentz. He asked for us to read a letter from the Aberdeen Pioneer Association in the comments section. And it says, Dear Mayor Shave and City Council, the Aberdeen Pioneer Association and its members would like to express their sadness and frustration that the mayor and city council do not put any importance or desire in providing a permanent location for the Aberdeen Museum. The city will soon have spent all $23 million it received for the Armory building, which housed the museum, without providing for a new museum. The Aberdeen Pioneer Association, its members, and many citizens of the community have donated many artifacts and family treasures to the city to be cared for and displayed in the museum. These artifacts are now stored in a rented warehouse space with no plan for a new museum. Many citizens and the Friends of the Museum put many hours of work and effort to create the museum. They got the Swanson brothers to donate the armory to the city, and they created the museum, built the displays, and amassed an impressive collection of artifacts. The museum was a cool place. It provided not only good depiction of Aberdeen's history and stories, but a great place for meetings and events. It was a sad day when the museum burnt, but watching the city spend the insurance money on other needs without providing for a museum is even sadder. It seems with these actions, the mayor and city are not showing any respect for the wishes and expectations of the people who generously donated the building, their time, effort, and artifacts to the city. The
Microphone is open.
Sorry, the Aberdeen Museum was a great place and subject of pride for our city and community. We need to create a new museum. The city needs to set aside the insurance money it received for the Armory fire in a special museum fund to come up with a new location for the museum and get it up and running. Thank you for your time. Aberdeen Pioneer Association, Don Lentz, President. That was public comment 1. This is the public comment number 2 from Jay Brand. Please include my comment below on Public Works section C3. Thank you. My name is Jamie Brand. I live in Hoquiam, but I'm on the Aberdeen Board of Museum and History. In reading the agenda, oh my goodness, so sorry. In reading the agenda for this evening, I'm very disheartened. The insurance settlement for the museum building is being spent on other projects from the museum. First, the Welcome Center, and now the levy. As someone who has helped raise funds for the museum after the fire, I feel betrayed by the current mayor. As a board member, I am greatly upset by the mayor's actions of denying city council approved position and braving the board. So sorry, just a second.
Well, timeout. I think there's a dog going to timeout right now.
I think we can all relate.
Pesky squirrels walking by. Sorry. So I feel betrayed by the current mayor, and as a board member, I'm greatly upset by the mayor's actions of denying a city council approved position and berating the board for following the rules. My concern is whether or not this Aberdeen Museum is going to be at least partially placed in the Welcome Center, or is the city council going to allow the Mayor Shave to continue using museum funds for other projects? And then the final comment is from on behalf of Steve Haywood from the attorney Bonin Law. Abuse of Steve M. Haywood and grievance regarding public comments. Dear Miss Meskis and other esteemed council members, this office represents Steve Haywood. Mr. Haywood is one of our constituents. As a constituent, Mr. Haywood possesses both the right to vote and the right to comment, criticize, and communicate regarding political and social issues. Indeed, Mr. Haywood even has the right to communicate with you regarding issues you may not even like and with views contrary to your own personal views. Mr. Haywood's freedom of expression is not limited or restricted by his ability to spell, or even if he knows how to use a spell check and or grammar function on a computer. The purpose of this communication is to complain on behalf of Mr. Haywood in plain English and with simple sentence structure about the behavior of elected official TSM Mary Meskis. Attached is an email sent by Ms. Meskis under her email address, and I won't repeat it, to Mr. Haywood at his email address. The email is offensive. For your personal edification, Mr. Haywood is a person with documented learning disabilities, which have a direct impact on his writing. The absolute lack of sensitivity to Mr. Haywood by Ms. Meskis is noted, and Ms. Meskis, as well as the council, are required to make a public apology to Mr. Haywood for having allowed the following statement to go out by a member of your esteemed board. And it's in parentheses, from now on, if you want to speak with me, then do so politely and please use a grammar tool or something of that nature. Your emails are extremely difficult to read as they are typically one long run-on sentence. Parentheses. While such an arrogant statement may have been innocent, we believe that Mr. Haywood's disabilities are common knowledge. Thus, the erroneous statement is something that we don't believe to be innocent. Indeed, it almost sounds as if Ms. Meskis has a desire to shame people with the learning disabilities into silence. This will not do. An apology is certainly in order. In addition, Mr. Haywood has alerted me to other significant problem. It appears that public meetings being held via Zoom, the city council has decided they are going to limit the public forum speaking to only those views on topics that Ms. Meskis agrees with. I am understanding that your entity received more than 70 letters of protest about something, in parentheses, what something is has absolutely no relevance to me, parentheses, and that the council decided to allow only one speaker from the public to speak on the topic. That one speaker was, as I understand it, a person who held the same point of view as Ms. Meskis, and then Ms. Meskis furthered her own expression of reviews by discussing her point of view from the podium. Mr. Haywood respectfully requests that each of you, the people who work for the city he loves, begin to be more respectful of the ability of citizens to express their points of view in public venue. Thank you for your time. Sincerely, John Bonin, attorney at law. And that is the last comment, and sorry for the disruption.
Thank you. Moving on to Finance Committee Chair Katzman.
Good evening, everyone. Finance met tonight at 6 o'clock via Zoom. We discussed the item to be added to the agenda tonight for the Gateway Center Project Management Services. We reviewed financials July year to date, and we continue to see positive trends around expenditures and revenue. Director Soul provided an accounting of the Armory insurance proceeds, and the funds are being earmarked very quickly. The council, if the council approves the 7 million allocation to the levy project this evening, there'll be approximately 3.95 million left that is uncommitted. Director Soul provided a budget planning calendar as we prepare for all of the budgeting activities that we do in third and fourth quarter. I believe all of these items were sent the entire council, so it should all sound familiar, but feel free to reach out to Director Soul with any questions. Before I get into the agenda item, I did want to get a few dates on the calendar related to budgeting and upcoming holidays. The first would be a council workshop series, which would take place on Wednesday, November 17th and Thursday, November 18th for department heads to present their budgets. And additionally, I'd like to get the council's approval, since we're doing all this right now, just to go ahead and move our scheduled meeting on November 24th to November 23rd in anticipation of the Thanksgiving holiday. So I make a motion, we add these 2 workshops and adjust the council meeting date.
And I second.
Motion was made and second to add these 2 workshop dates, the 17th and 18th of November, and change the 25th or 24th of November council meeting to the 23rd. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, oh, there's a Liz.
I was just going to comment that those are showing on the targeted dates budget. So that's great, I guess.
Okay, any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, and next we have the item that we added to the agenda, which is a report from finance and the community development. Director.
Excuse me, Katie, do we need to do expenditures first?
Oh, we do. Thank you. I would like to make a motion to approve the expenditures and payroll first.
I second.
Motion
Go ahead.
motion was made, seconded to do the expenditures and payroll. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Do you want
Just
me
a
to-
roll
Roll call.
Roll call vote. Sorry.
It's okay. So the motion to approve accounts payable in the total of amount of, oh shoot, am I, yeah, I'm on, of $891,839.34 and payroll in the total amount of $99,199.50, check number 74270 through 74434, and roll call. Councilmember Andrews,
Yes.
Councilmember Ellis,
Yes.
Councilmember Francie,
Yes.
Councilmember Gordon,
Yes.
Councilmember Cashman,
Yes.
Councilmember Mackey,
Yes.
Councilmember Meskis,
Yes.
Councilmember Rich Rod,
Yes.
Councilmember Ross,
Yes.
Councilmember Shaw,
Yes.
Councilmember Short,
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
unanimously approved.
Thank you.
Okay. Next is the report from finance and the community development director recommending the council approve a request to hire Rock Project Management Services for the Gateway Center project management for $298,820, which is reimbursable by existing grant awards. I move we adopt this report.
I second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Ellis.
Yes, I do have discussion on this, but did we also move and approve to move the 11/24 meeting to 11/23, or do we have to go back and do that?
We did
Did
that.
that.
Oh, okay, thank
I
you.
looped them all into one.
That was very efficient. I'm concerned about this contract in that it represents basically an expenditure of $300,000 over the course of the year for this team of people to come up with a financing plan. And I've been thinking and talking with people in the community about allowing and even encouraging the museum to be competitive as one of the tenants of the Gateway Center. And I think in many respects, that would be a win-win for everybody. It provides a home with a public face for the museum and the museum collection. It's right there off the main highway where there's a lot of visitors coming in who can help pay to support the museum. the museum would be a paying tenant to as any other tenant would be. And we've certainly gotten an earful from the community of just how important having a museum is to Aberdeen. And I also recently learned that the library has a collection of some historic items that they have that they need to give to the museum. Well, what good does it do to give it to the museum if the museum has no place where the public can go to research things that are related to genealogy and Aberdeen history? So having an accessible location is really critical. And we've got the Gateway building, there's some momentum there. I just think it would be a lovely synergy of Gateway and museum. And I'd like to see, I mean, it says in the agreement on page, maybe it's the first page of attachment A, that the contractor would engage with current and future stakeholders to be identified by the city to assist with the following, basically all the things we're hiring them to do. I would like some consensus that the Aberdeen Museum be given a fair shot at providing a proposal to be to have a presence in the Gateway Center that's more than just stuff on the walls.
A little bit of point of order is that this is a great idea, Liz, but it's something that should be discussed outside of this contract, in my opinion. That doesn't, you know, wanting the museum, you could go to the museum board and talk to them about that. But the contract is a totally different subject.
I guess I'm having concerns about whether I can vote in support of this contract without some assurance that that the museum board, if they were to want to apply to be in the Gateway, that they'd get a fair shake at it.
Councilmember Meskis.
Liz, I understand you have a heartfelt issue here, but you know, we can't get anywhere if we don't actually approve this report. And if the museum wants a fair shake, then they just need to put their bid in at the same time everybody else puts their bid in as a potential tenant. And they will be given the same fair view as everybody else that puts a bid in for, you know, these people to come up with their assessment. So, you know, as Councilmember Andrews was saying, this is kind of the wrong part of this whole process to have this particular conversation. Now, if, you know, things got to a point and, you know, the museum was being ignored for some reason, and we got this list of tenants and they weren't on it, you know, then I'd probably say that was the time for this kind of discussion. But right now we just need to, you know, look at approving a management company that's fully capable of coming up with the financial plan to move this project forward. So that's the scope of what this report is. So what you're saying is heartfelt. I get it, and I understand the concerns for the museum, but it's kind of outside the scope of the report.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember
Margot Short.
Ellis.
Okay.
Oh, Councilmember Short, go ahead.
I agree with Liz, and I'm really having trouble voting in favor of any of these things that I still don't think we are to the place where we've got this thing organized. And no, I can't vote in favor of this either.
Councilmember Ross.
I'd just like to say that this whole process has been a long one and it's been going on for many, many years. But
And-
without taking this next step, we aren't going to go anywhere. We have the money to hire the people to go out and help us find the rest of the money and get the tenants in place so that we can move forward with construction. If we stop this process now, is it just going to go away and we're going to pay back all the money we've been given by the state? Because if we don't follow through with this, we're going to lose that grant money. There's a good chance we'll have to pay it back. So. this is just
Councilmember Catchman.
Part of the process.
Yeah, just to reiterate, it is something that is covered by a grant, so there's not a need for any additional funds by the city. And also the Gateway meetings that I have been a part of, the museum was brought up, and we did speak to Coates Design about making modifications to the building for a museum, and it was found to be cost prohibitive. And so that's why the museum wasn't a component, but I believe it was Mayor Shave's idea to include it in the first place, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on the credit on that, but I thought we already crossed that bridge and determined we couldn't do this.
We
Other
did.
than some stand-in displays.
We did.
Councilmember Andrews.
With putting a museum in the building, I believe there's a lot of consideration when it comes to your air conditioning, the preserve, there's the air quality. Wasn't all that part of it? I'm thinking, okay,
Yes,
Mayor
yes.
Shave's shaking his head. There's
Yeah.
a whole separate thing that has to be doing with when you build a museum, as far as the
Protecting.
they definitely want to be able to put exhibits in there. We've talked about that, but yeah, having the whole museum there is problematic.
Councilmember or City Community Development Director Scott.
Yes, thank you. This was brought to City Council at the first of the year, and where we were talking with the museum board, and we brought together what that was going to be and that design, and council voted at that time to go back to the original design, but also council voted down after listening to the museum board that they didn't want to be in the building at the level that we were planning. We were always planning with the Gateway to have some exhibits in the building, but we had actually went down the path of talking with Coates Design about adding the wing for the museum, and the board is the one, and council said no. Go back to the original. So that doesn't mean that now, tomorrow, if this contract is approved, that the museum won't be a part of that. But it's just the original intent behind that was to design the systems where the museum could be a part of that, which is no longer in the construction plans. But that doesn't mean going forward that the museum could not have a role or a part in the Gateway Center. It's just what those tenant improvements are going to look like, because that wasn't included in the construction documents.
Councilmember Ellis.
Thank you, Mayor. I feel like in some ways, I know there's been a tremendous amount of process to get where we are. And yet this is a really pivotal point where we are able to influence the process as it moves forward. And I feel like in many ways, the museum has been discounted. They've had opportunities that haven't been supported by the city, and yet it's a city entity, and the added cost to design in or retrofit the building as we have a design now to get the level of air conditioning or humidity control or whatever, I think is far less than what it would cost to retrofit that into any other building that they might look at. Any other building that would be really old and have all kinds of issues, at least this will be new and more adaptable. And I think that, yes, we've gone through lots of iterations and this way and that way, and yet being flexible, working with what we've got at the time, I think is really important. And that, yes, we let this team do their work. This is what they're good at. But it would also be super meaningful if there was a statement either from the council or the mayor saying that as you're putting these pieces together, having a museum in Aberdeen is really key. And this Gateway Center could be a wonderful fit for that accomplishes all of what we're looking for.
Councilmember Meskis.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to see if we could actually move on more discussion on topic with the report as it is. Liz, I totally appreciate what you're saying, but it sounds like this would be something better brought up during your council comments or another discussion. It just seems very irrelevant to the report that we're voting on right now. So I would just appreciate if we could kind of get back on track and talk about the content of the report. And if there's no further discussion, move on to vote.
Council President Shaw.
So one thing to keep in mind, I think, is that we do have a museum board. And, you know, when people come to us with public comment and everything, we need to keep in mind what the museum board has told us, because those are the people we have appointed and put in place to take direction from. They are advisory to us. And this contract specifically states to take into account all stakeholders. I looked at our participants for the meeting, and the potential vendor, Mr. O'Donnell, is on the call tonight. I find it hard to believe that he's not taking all of this to heart. And in interviews, he was very, very sensitive to the local tensions that can take place in a project like this. I think that when I look at the language of the contract to involve all stakeholders, there's no doubt the museum is a stakeholder. And if they want to be involved, that would be an expectation of the city, that they would be included in to the extent that the board wants them to be. And I think sometimes when we get, you know, people sidelining us and everything, we need to remember that we have a board that has been charged with collecting all of this community conversation and providing us with their recommendation. And the last time the board provided a recommendation to us was that at the last time this came up on the council, one really, really important element was that the Gateway Center is not an Aberdeen Center. It is meant to celebrate the culture and history of all of Grays Harbor. So yes, the Aberdeen Museum wanted to be a part of that, and they are diligently developing some relationships elsewhere in the county so that the Gateway Center is about all of us, not just Aberdeen. But I think that they also have a goal that we approved and charged them with to become an accredited museum. And that's the part that I think we haven't fully supported. We set them on a task to go out and become an accredited museum, not just, you know, Aberdeen's attic. Because an accredited museum can be a very—
But we're getting off the subject again here now.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any more discussion on the motion that's on the floor? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Katie.
That's all from finance.
Okay, Public Works, Committee Chair Meskis.
Thank you very much. Public Works Committee met yesterday at 4 o'clock, a little bit after, via Zoom, and we discussed our agenda items and a few other things going on in the city. So we'll get right to it. So under reports, first we have a report from Public Works and the Public Works Director recommending that the city engineer shall be authorized to award the West Aberdeen Safety Improvement Project contract to the responsive low bidder, and the mayor shall be authorized to execute a contract with the responsive low bidder within the approved budget of the 2021 TBD annual project. I move that we accept this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to accept this report. Is there any discussion? Under discussion, this has been a long time coming to get this done, and this is going to involve the school over here on the west side and some other things. So it's nice to see this moving forward. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the report, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Right, and next we have a report from Public Works and the Public Works Director recommending that the City Council shall authorize the Public Works Director to execute Task Order 12, Elevation Certificate Pilot Program through the city's on-call agreement with Berglund Schmidt. I move we accept this report.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
And next we have a report from Public Works and the Public Works Director recommending that the City Council shall pass a resolution reserving $7 million of local funding from the Armory Building Fire Insurance Settlement and committing it to the North Shore Levee Project. I move we accept this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Under discussion, Councilmember Meskis.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to say when we accept reports like this, it seems like, we might be writing this blank check for $7 million. We are not. We are simply reserving those funds for a project or for whatever it is. And anytime something comes forward that needs to pull from those funds, it's going to come back before council for further approval. So this is not us just saying, here's $7 million to this project. This is what we're committing. And right now, the only funding source that we can pull, that we can make that commitment from, is the Armory funds.
Any other discussion? Councilmember Richrod.
I was going to say that too. This is a $7 million set aside. And there's a $7 million set aside for the Gateway Center. And out of 23 million in the settlement, that leaves 9. Where did the other 6 go?
It's frustrating.
I believe we were given a spreadsheet. I haven't gone through the whole thing, but we were given a spreadsheet from finance that lays out all of the places that funds have gone to. Did you not get that?
Since about last spring, numerous times. Since about last spring, numerous times, the council's got updates on the amount of reserves and where the money's gone and how it's been spent. And the money, including the money that was taken out and put and spent on the museum and so forth. Finance Director Sol, did you have a comment?
If you look at the spreadsheet, Councilmember Richrod, it gives you line by line and year by year. So in 2018, $1 million was transferred into the museum or to the community center for fire damages. 2019, 1,288,000 was sent, 938 was given transferred to the museum. 350,000 was transferred to the community service fund, community center fund for, again, fire damages and stuff to go along with that. And then in our 2020 supplemental budget, we transferred out, well, we transferred 3,490,109, and it was to shore up 6 funds that were in the negative, 5 funds are in the negative, including the museum fund, but it also ensured that the museum received what the outside adjuster estimated the fine arts and the actual artifacts value was that were destroyed. And then the 7 million given, committed to the Gateway Center, and then now the 7 million to the levy. So it's 19,778 that's either been committed or transferred out. If you approve the 7 million that's before you tonight.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
Thanks for updating me. That spreadsheet is so old that it's long gone out of my email, so.
Okay, it was part of the finance packet that was sent, finance committee packet too.
Mhm.
Any other
Okay, thanks.
discussion? Councilmember Mackey.
Yes, I was not present for the workshop meeting that you guys discussed, the 7 million that was going to be transferred for. And I'm kind of catching up and bringing myself back up to date. And one of my thoughts that really went against me is I don't like the idea that we're using museum money to support the Gateway and the levy. I think that money should have been stayed for the museum to build us a museum. That's what the insurance money is for. The idea of using this money for other projects, I will totally vote no on it every time. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor, Margot Short.
Councilmember Short.
I agree with John. I just really cringe at spending museum fire money for levy and stuff like that. I know we need the levy, but and it's a really easy way to get some money for the levy. But that insurance money came as a result of museum fire, and I think we should save it for that.
Councilmember Meskis.
Thank you very much. So one of the things that we're running into here with certain projects like the levy and, what we're running into with this report is, the city has to show that we're willing to put some skin in the game. We have to show that we're willing to put some money forth in order to get some bigger grants, some better funding to move these projects forward. If we don't do that, then there's our ability to get more grant funding to actually finish and complete these projects becomes much more difficult. And as hard as it can be to say, what would we rather have, a museum or a Gateway Center, a museum or a levy? I'm going to vote for, bringing a huge part of our city out of the floodplain every single time. And, that's what this levy project is going to do for us, is it's going to increase our economic base of our city so that we can gather more funds and put more funds aside so we can do the museum right. Yes, these funds, were because of a horrible thing that happened to our existing museum. And that's really sad. But, what we're looking at too is if we try to build a museum, but leave the rest of the city underwater, I think that's a poor decision in my own opinion. So I just wanted to throw that out there. We have to be able to put skin in the game with these things. And we're very fortunate to have these funds that we can actually pull upon right now to say, hey, yes, we can commit that, but like I said, this is not a blank check. This is not us writing a check for 7 million. This is saying we have $7 million that we can commit to this project so that we can gather other funding as well.
Councilmember
Margot, you
Mackey.
warned us about this.
I still disagree. I think the museum money should be the museum money. And the other funding, we could have able to get it before and get it now. But why do we have to use the museum money for that? I'm very strong for the museum. My family had a lot of artifacts in that museum, and which is my business. But to see that building or that part of it disappear, I'm very disappointed. That's all I've got to say.
Councilmember Rich Rod, did you have a comment?
Well, Margot warned us that this would happen. I'm gonna have to, I'm really torn with this. I agree with Councilmember Mackey, and in the grand scheme of things, Aberdeen, Washington, not having a historical museum is really akin to Westport not having boats.
Well, let's clarify.
Let me finish my thought here. I agree with his reasoning. However, I am inclined to go ahead and approve of this with the understanding that we can come up with money for a museum when we need it, because Aberdeen still has a Class A, first class bond rating if we needed to go that route. So and Councilmember Meskis is right. If the city's underwater, the museum is not going to help much unless there's a lot of boats in it. So it's
One of the
very
things that I'm
reluctant.
hearing is that this is the museum's money. We're not talking about the museum. We're talking about the levy project. Secondly, this is the city's
It is the museum's money.
insurance money from the Armory building. The museum was given in their account the funding from the museum portion of the insurance money. So let's just ride with that and get on focus on what the report is asking. Councilmember Catchman.
Is it okay if I just put Director Sanger on the spot and ask him what the implications are tonight if it was a no vote? I'm curious to hear.
Council.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Boy, you're killing me right here, Katie. Anyway, yeah, the $7 million is we've consulted with our lobbyists, and we need, like Meskis said, we need skin in the game, and that sets us up for our as we move forward in the legislative sessions. We have a big brick grant application. We're hoping to get funded in the $30 to $50 million range, but even with that funding, if we do not have skin in the game, we are not going to get the funding that we need in the legislative for the next biennium to get us to the point where we can construct within 2 years. I'm in a really tough spot. I don't want to speak ill about any other project. Every project's important. I believe the levy project is the most important. It is the one thing that is going to create jobs. It's going to create the ability to have people invest in your cities and invest in infrastructure. Right now, that has happened. Where the point is, you can drive around town and you can see all these empty houses that cannot be developed because they're in the floodplain and they're not being, you have to spend so much money to get them out of the floodplain that it doesn't make sense to develop. We have a housing crisis. But we have plenty of houses that are available if people could just flip them, put money into them, invest in them. Again, like Pete said, everybody keeps saying that this is museum money. This is money. The city had a building and the museum was a tenant, and they were a tenant. Just because you're a tenant doesn't mean that if the building burns down, you get all the money. That's not how it works. This is city money. And these are city priorities. And I mean, you guys have a tough choices to make. But when we went through the process, the museum, I believe it's $2 million, was determined that that's where it should have been, and the museum got $2 million. They didn't get $23 million. And again, I'm probably over speaking. These are probably not things that I need to be talking about. But in order for us to stay on track and to get a levy start construction within 2 years, we have to have a commitment. if we don't get a commitment, then we are set back. We miss the next biennium for funding. And I don't even, I mean, I guess we would go back to the drawing board. I'm telling you, we would not give up. We would not stop asking. We'd not stop trying to get funding, but our lobbyists have given us a clear path to get funded, and this is part of it. So I can't tell you anymore else.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Rick.
Thanks, Rick. Our lobbyists are working both in Olympia and in Washington DC, as you should know. And they've been doing a great job. Is there any more discussion on the motion?
Can we have a roll call vote on this, please?
Yes, please, roll call vote.
Please.
Okay. The motion was recommending that the city council pass a resolution reserving $7 million of local funding.
Not a resolution, except the report.
It's a report.
Yep, accept the
City
report,
clerk.
not a resolution.
Oh, well, that's what it said there. I'm sorry. You're right. It is a report, but it says resolution.
Later on.
Yeah, that's coming.
So will there be a roll call vote on the motion?
Okay.
City clerk, can you do the roll call?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Andrews,
Yes.
Councilmember Ellis,
Yes.
Councilmember Francie,
Yes.
Councilmember Gordon,
Yes.
Councilmember Cashman,
Yes.
Councilmember Mackey,
No,
Councilmember Meskis,
Yes.
Councilmember Richrod,
I shall vote in the affirmative.
Councilmember Ross,
Yes.
Councilmember Shaw,
Yes.
Councilmember Short,
The Public Works Director convinced me, yes.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
one negative, rest affirmative.
Thank you. All right.
Need the
moving on.
skin in the game, John.
Okay,
Alrighty. You ready to move forward?
yes, sir.
Ma'am.
Ma'am.
That's
Excuse me.
okay.
Figure
We're all
speed.
working through it, sir. Alrighty, so next we have a report from Public Works and the Public Works Director recommending that the Public Works Director shall be authorized to execute supplemental agreement 4 to agreement 2XS1/17 for the Aberdeen US 12 Highway Rail Separation Project. I move we accept this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to accept this report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, now we're going to move on to the reports that we added. So first we have a report recommending that the City Council shall pass a resolution setting the date for a public hearing for the proposed vacation of portions of Polk Street, Lee Street, and adjoining alley. I move we accept this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to accept this report. Is there any discussion? I think last council meeting, we had a pretty good report and maps and everything on this subject. So you can go back to that paperwork for any refresh. Anything
Okay.
else?
Yeah, this is mostly just there was something wrong in the process that they had to correct. So it's just a correction report that they'd rather get corrected now than have to, you know, pull everything down and do it again later.
Right. Sounds good. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, and then the last report is a report recommending that the mayor shall be authorized to execute task order number 9 through the on-call agreement with HDR Engineering Inc. for consulting services for the North Shore Levee project. I move we adopt this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, and under resolutions, we have a resolution committing local funding to the North Shore Levy Project. I move that we adopt this resolution.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this resolution for the North Shore Levy Project. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
No,
Motion carries.
This is resolution 2021-19.
Alrighty. And last resolution, we have a resolution setting the date for a public hearing on the proposed vacation of portions of Polk Street, Lee Street, and adjoining alley abutting or within portions of blocks 5, 6, 7, and 8 of the Broadway addition to Cosmopolis. And that public hearing date shall be held on Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021 via Zoom. I move we adopt this resolution.
Second.
Motion is made, seconded to adopt this resolution. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
That's resolution 2021-20.
All right, and that is all from Public Works.
Thank you. That public hearing again will be Wednesday, September 22nd. Thank you. Moving on to Public Safety Committee Chair report from Councilmember Andrews.
Hello, so public safety met this evening at 6:30, so we don't have any items on the regular agenda. However, the police do have an agenda item under the special agenda under personnel committees that as the mayor mentioned, Wayne Schmidt, he was basically the support service supervisor. It was a position created decades ago by the police department. However, it was never an official represented position, but he filled it. The creation of this position will be under the AFS CME employee, which is the local union, and not a commissioned police officer. He, as the police chief mentioned, his time as an actual police officer was only like 5% because of all the other duties. So it makes more sense to have it a civil service employee. Police chief already covered the VIPs. And then number 3 on his list was further discussion is going on with Attorney Jeff Myers in the recent Washington State Supreme Court ruling referencing Seattle versus Long. And this ruling has potential impact to the city's ability to impound certain vehicles and RVs on public property. So he'll be discussing that. There may be some tweaks to some ordinances we need to do in the future. So that's just a heads up that might be coming. Over on the fire department side, there's no agenda items. In the early morning of August 12th, there was an Aberdeen citizen who called the fire department to report that he had just put out a fire in his bedroom with his fire extinguisher. He reported at 3:30 a.m. the smoke alarm in his bedroom sounded, and he woke up to find a 110-volt fan on fire. The fan had melted and fallen into the carpet, causing 5 small fires on his bedroom floor. He stated he was sedated by his medications and would not have woken up without his smoke alarm. He feels like he would have died in the fire if the Aberdeen Fire Department personnel had not previously placed a smoke alarm in his bedroom. He was very grateful and he wanted to thank the Aberdeen Fire Department. 2 smoke alarms were installed in his home on February 8th, 2021 by the Aberdeen Fire Department during a smoke alarm sweep of the neighborhood. The fire department appreciates and values their partnership with the American Red Cross that started in January of 2021. They provide smoke alarms and the AFD installs them in our community to citizens that do not have working smoke alarms. This is a great example with a great outcome showing how smoke alarms save lives. the occupant gave his permission to share his story along with sharing it with the Red Cross. We do commend our fire department for providing this service to our citizens. And this is, I mean, an excellent example that, you know, 6 months after the fire department put 2 smoke alarms in his home, he was saved by them. So that's an important thing. Everybody has probably heard about the second alarm fire that was on Fleet Street. That turned into a very great example of the joint between Aberdeen and Hoquiam. While Aberdeen was on that call, you know, Hoquiam responded to other, you know, just that wonderful partnership that the 2 fire departments already have is, you know, is that fire is a great testament is why we do have that great working relationship. And in that, the Central Grace Harbor Regional Fire Authority plan has 2 open houses plans for the general public to discuss the Central Grace Harbor Regional Fire Authority. On Wednesday, September 1st at 6 p.m. at the Hoquiam Fire Department, 625 H Street in Hoquiam. And on Thursday, September 2nd at 6 p.m. at the Aberdeen Fire Department, 700 West Market in Aberdeen. They're going to do public open houses to present the information regarding the Regional Fire Authority plan and to answer questions from the public. The plan is available both on aberdeenwa.gov and cityofhoquiam.com. And there is an additional informational flyer for the Central Grace Harbor RFA Proposition 1 has been developed and will be included in the City of Aberdeen September utility billing mailing. So I think that covered everything. Yes. So we are good. That's the end of public safety.
Thank you. Special agenda items.
I have a question.
Councilmember Ellis.
Thank you. Tani, will those here, public meetings be available by Zoom, or do people have to go in person?
I believe they are in person at this time, those 2 meetings. There will be some meetings in the future, so I'll be happy to pass that along. That maybe at least 1 or 2 of them could be via Zoom for people who don't, you know, are unable to attend. So we'll be happy to pass that along to the Regional Fire Authority group.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay,
Mayor Shave?
special agenda items, Council President Shaw.
Yes, under reports and communications, we have a report from personnel and the Human Resources Director recommending that the City Council adopt the job description and pay level 17 in the AFSCME pay range for code compliance specialist effective immediately. I move we adopt this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
We have a second item, a report from personnel and the Human Resources Director recommending that the City Council adopt the job description of pay level 21 in the AFSCME pay range for Police Support Services Supervisor effective January 1, 2022. I move we adopt this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Under ordinances, we have second reading and public hearing of bill number 2106 on the ordinance amending Aberdeen Municipal Code 2.60.040J regarding park hours. I move that we open the public hearing.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this resolution. Is there
To
any-
open the public hearing, sir.
Or, I mean, to open the public hearing, is there any discussion?
Everybody was-
Sorry, my phone kept ringing and it got me off track here. Is there any discussion on opening the public hearing? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Public hearing is now open. Was there anything on the public hearing? City clerk Sol, there was nothing reported for the public hearing, so
No, there is nothing.
thank you.
Well, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to close the public hearing. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
So with there being no public comment, we've been asked to see if we can move this into final passage tonight. So I move that we consider the second reading, the third, suspend the rules and place ordinance bill number 2106 on final passage.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to suspend the rules. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
That's ordinance number six.
No. No.
We have to vote.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
we have to
sorry.
do one more vote.
Sorry.
I'll accept the motion for the third passage.
So moved.
Motion's made and seconded to put this on final passage. Any discussion? Seeing none, city clerk, this is a roll call vote.
Okay. Councilmember Andrews,
Yes.
Councilmember Ellis,
Yes.
Councilmember Francie,
Yes.
Councilmember Gordon,
Yes.
Councilmember Cashman,
Yes.
Councilmember Mackey,
Yes.
Councilmember Meskis,
Yes.
Councilmember Richrod,
Yes.
Councilmember Ross,
Yes.
Councilmember Shaw,
Yes.
Councilmember Short,
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Unanimous. And now ordinance number 6674.
Thank you. Is there anything else, Council President Shaw?
There are no additional special agenda items. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to council comment period. Council have any comments? Councilmember Meskis.
Thank you very much. Just a couple of things. First and foremost, one of the tough things about this job is looking at our vision for the city and the citizens' visions for the city and how best to move forward. And, we have to make some pretty tough decisions and, what we're going to move forward quicker than other things. So, you saw a lot of that tonight, and I think we've got a pretty good direction that we're heading in on a number of projects. And I did actually, I was tempted to not mention anything about this, but I would like to actually respond to Mr. Haywood. First of all, I have not been informed at any time that you had a disability. Had I known of any such disability, I would definitely have given a little bit more effort to work with you. I happen to be disabled myself. I am completely deaf in one ear. So I totally get where that can come from. But at the same time, when we get emails in and we don't understand them or we don't understand the content, we have a choice. We can assume what they mean and respond on our assumption, or we can ask for clarification. So when we ask for clarification, it's not that we're trying to put you down. It's not that we're trying to, say that you are below us or anything like that. It's that, we need help understanding what you're trying to talk to us about. So, in my response to you, asking you to use a tool like Grammarly or, have some other kind of help to send messages to us. It's simply so that we can fully understand what it is you want us to respond to without having to make assumptions. That's all. And kind of lastly, a couple of things going on this weekend. A really fun event on Saturday is going to be a takeover of Broadway between some local businesses and Out and Proud Grace Harbor Coalition. It's going to be a fundraiser for the Pride Fest, which hopefully, as long as COVID doesn't rear its ugly face in our community, will happen in October. So that's going to be a really fun event. And as always, Sunday is our Aberdeen Sunday Market, and it's been going really strong. We actually have a lot more farms. We have some amazing mushrooms and other great stuff at that market. So be sure to come down to the Aberdeen Sunday Market between 10 and 3. And I'll relinquish the floor back to you.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything for council comment? Council President Shaw.
I had a couple things. The first item that I wanted to bring to the council's attention is that the folks at the library have reached out to me. They would like to come and share the scope of the project that they're planning in our building and share with us their plans for a remodel. And they're looking at September or October, and they're open to either a workshop or coming during our committee of the whole meeting. And unless the council is interested in a workshop, I was going to try and schedule them for one of our committee of the whole meetings, if that's okay. So just a heads up to, I'll try and work with around some of the budget stuff so we don't get too piled on when it comes to special presentations, and make sure that we kind of spread these things out. But I'm really anxious to hear what the library has planned, and I hope you are too.
Thank you.
And the second thing that I wanted to bring up tonight is some thoughts that I want to share that have been weighing heavily on my mind, and I just feel like I need to bring it to the council. And it has to do with the hiring of family members in the city, which is prohibited under section 3.2 of our personnel policies. And any exceptions require approval of the Personnel Committee and the City Council under section 1.45. And it has been our practice for decades to have the selection of deputy clerks in the finance department or the legal department presented to the City Council. And this practice is supported in chapter 27 of our city charter. So on July 29th, I contacted the mayor to let him know that I had been asked whether it's true that his close relative had been hired in the finance department as our deputy clerk accountant 3. And he asked why it was my concern where his daughter works. And I said, I appreciate the question, but I think it is neither the council's nor the public's concern if the answer is no. And I didn't get an answer. So the matter rested there for another week or so. And so I feel like my question was an opportunity to make doubly sure that if we're hiring relatives at City Hall, that we do cross all the I's and dot the T's. But instead, the next week I learned that the relative had started work in the finance department that Monday. And then I learned there was an agreement where the mayor promised to give up some oversight of finance in an attempt to deal with conflict. So I contacted our interim corporation counsel to ask how best to bring this matter to the Personnel Committee and the City Council now that the individual had started work in the city. My wish was for the council to be informed and the process to be followed, and that it just be brought to us in an orderly way so that we can just keep the faith with our transparency and our policies. I wanted to bring this up in executive session, but I was asked to wait by Jeff Myers. And then late Friday afternoon, Mr. Myers provided me with his opinion. It was labeled confidential, and it copied the mayor, the finance director, and the personnel director. So all of us as council members, we're schooled from day one that when our attorney tells us something is confidential, we can't talk about it. In this case, I felt like confidentiality was being used to keep me from bringing an important matter to the council. Mr. Myers did not respond to a request to discuss his opinion. So I decided to get a legal opinion that I can talk about. I have a legal opinion from Art Blauvelt at Ingram's, Alaska and Goodwin, that the finance director and personnel director should have brought the hiring of the mayor's close relative to the personnel committee and the city council for approval. My attorney provided his analysis to our interim corporation counsel, Jeff Myers. Instead of choosing to bring this matter to the council, the city is challenging my decision to seek outside legal advice. So the fact that there is an agreement, nepotism agreement in place acknowledges the conflict, but no agreement between the mayor and his department heads can substitute for the fact that the council has been given no opportunity to support a finding that the qualifications and capabilities of the mayor's close relative justify an exception to our policy. My only agenda is to ensure that the checks and balances in our system of government are observed. I am asking for a motion that the finance director and the personnel director be directed to bring their recommendation for accountant 3 deputy clerk to the personnel committee and the city council as required by our policies and charter.
Mayor
So
Shea.
moved.
Second,
Oh, there you are,
Second, yeah.
Councilmember Jeff Myers.
we have a motion on the floor. Councilmember Andrews made a motion and it was seconded by myself.
Our city attorney beat you to it.
My question for the council is, do you want to do this in open session?
Yes.
All right, let's do it in open session. First of all, an attorney-client privilege communication was made to Councilmember Shaw. Councilmember Shaw has just admitted that she took that confidential communication, communicated it to an outsider without any authority from this body. There was no waiver of attorney-client privilege, and she was not authorized to seek outside counsel. The legal advisor for the city under the city charter is the corporation counsel, not Art Blauvelt or any other outside attorney. In taking an attorney-client privilege memorandum to outside counsel, Councilmember Shaw has violated RCW 42.23.070, which states as follows. No municipal officer may disclose confidential information gained by reason of the officer's position. Councilmember Shaw, in disclosing this to an outsider, disclosed confidential information that she learned as a reason of her position. That is a violation of the municipal ethics chapter of state law and is unlawful action on her part. As a result, RCW 42.23.050 provides that in violating the provisions of that chapter, she can be found liable to the municipality that she is an officer of for a penalty in the amount of $500, in addition to such other civil or criminal liability as may be imposed by law. In addition, the violation of the provisions of this chapter may be grounds for forfeiture of her office. You want to do this in open session?
I don't believe Ms. Shaw
in
did any of that.
session,
I believe that
it
Ms.
is my
Shaw
advice to you.
sought
Excuse
other
me,
legal,
Councilmember
other legal
Meskis, you do not
counsel.
have the floor.
In open session, it is my advice to you that Councilmember Shaw has violated the law in seeking outside counsel, who has no authority to advise her in any official capacity, and it has usurped the role of your corporation counsel. Whether Mr. Blauvelt has a point or not is not relevant in my view, because
Councilmember Andrews, will you control yourself, please?
Because the ability to get legal advice and effective counsel from your corporation counsel depends on a open and clear communication in confidence. Councilmember Shaw has chosen to violate that confidence. And I am extraordinarily disappointed by her choice to do that. I would like to know who is paying for Mr. Blauvelt's services and whether the city is supposed to be paying for those services. In rendering advice to you as a council member, your charter provides that the corporation council is to provide that advice.
There are three
I
hands
provided
up,
that
Mayor.
advice. And I don't think this should have been raised in open session.
There are two
And,
hands up, Mayor.
Are you,
And that's what I have to say for now.
thank you, sir. Councilmember Ross.
If we can't discuss this in open session, how is the council ever going to be able to act on this? This was in clear violation of our personnel policies. I think you're trying to hide something from us, and I don't appreciate the fact that we're not allowed to weigh in on it.
Councilman, did you have an
My
answer to
legal
that?
advice can be shared with the council in confidence. And my legal advice is that it is not a violation of your personnel policy, but the mayor has been removed from any chain of command. And the charter provides that the appointing authority for that position is the finance director. So that position is not hired by the mayor, who has a relationship with the individual who was hired. And this agreement that was reached removes the mayor from any role in the supervision, promotion, review from that employee. And that is in compliance with your policy, because your policy says it is against the policy of the city to hire someone who is related when they are in a supervisory capacity. And that was complied with. There is no exception because you are not asking to hire someone who is within the supervision of the mayor, because this agreement has taken them out of that. And Mr. Blauvelt may disagree with that, but that was my legal advice to the city, and I stand by it.
Before this position was filled, after the interviews, when which I was not a part of, when they determined who they wanted to hire, that was the first thing that came up was this issue. And I asked them to seek legal advice before they moved forward with anything on it. And that's what they did. And the legal advice came back that it fit within the rules, that just to take an extra step, they'd write something up and I would sign, which we did, and then the job was filled. So nobody's hiding anything, Debbie. Councilmember
And I want to point out also that legal advice was provided by an outside attorney who has been contracted with the city to provide advice on personnel matters. Not my office.
That's correct. Councilmember Andrews, you had your hand up.
So our charter does have provisions in it about the deputy finance director or the deputy clerk. It's clear in there that it's supposed to come through through the city council. That is clear. I mean, I can find it, but I mean, I don't have any problem. If Deanna disagreed and you guys, I don't know why it was being hidden from us. That really, really bothers me. And it does. It's shady as all get out.
I don't know why you think anything was hidden.
Well, why weren't we informed? Why didn't it go through the regular channels? We've done it every other time.
It did go through the channels that it was supposed to.
The council did its job in approving the position and in approving the salary range, which is what the council's role is under the city charter. The person who then appoints that is the finance director. And that does not require confirmation of the individual who is hired to fill that position.
Councilmember Meskis.
Thank you very much. First, I just have a couple of clarifying questions I'd like to ask Council President Shaw. So first of all, I am pretty sure that in your interactions with the lawyer that you consulted with, you did not show them any of the documentation from Mr. Myers, and it was purely just everything that is publicly available, who the person is, our charter, our ordinances regarding hiring. I'm pretty sure that's correct.
So I went to Mr. Blauvelt and told him I felt like my hands were tied, that I had something I wanted to bring to the council, but the legal opinion I was given, while I was told was confidential, which meant I can't even talk about it to the council because the council wasn't copied or shared on it. And he said that he was my attorney, I could share it with him, so I did. So the answer to your question is that I did share with my attorney the opinion that Mr. Myers wrote, along with other the job description and other things that the council had adopted. But I did it on the advice of my attorney. I did not provide anything until he said, in his opinion, I could share it with you.
And I
Thank
have
you very
had
much,
that
Mr. Myers.
discussion
This is
with
my
Mr.
turn to talk, sir. This is my turn to talk. I'll relinquish the floor in just a moment. Thank you.
I apologize.
Thank you very much. And I totally understand the position that you're under here, Council President Shaw, because I've been here myself. This is not the first time that the Personnel Committee has been usurped in a personnel issue. I was actually privy to an issue that happened earlier on this year that was really awful, and I don't believe it was handled properly. It did not even go through the Personnel Committee when it really should have. And we have somebody that's working for the city right now that abuses their position and is able to just get away with stuff, and they got a slap on the wrist. So I'm being very careful. So this is the second time in my term in office that the Personnel Committee has been usurped in having things go through these proper channels. So all we're asking is that things go the way that they're supposed to go. This is the first time I've seen a deputy director be hired or a deputy of any kind be hired in my term. But I have seen that anytime a department head is put through it, there's council members that go in and they're part of the interview process. And from what I'm seeing, that should be part of this process as well. And it was completely bypassed. So it's really we're trying to show the public that we are transparent and that we're doing things and not just trying to bypass our own ordinances for our own gain. And that really seems like what happened here. I'll relinquish the floor.
You're making a lot of statements based on your opinion, and the opinion of a personnel lawyer directed us in the way this had to go. When I brought it up that we needed to get legal advice before hiring this position, a personnel lawyer that specializes in that gave us the opinion. Everything that you have said is based off of your opinion that we did something wrong. I never intended on keeping anything from anybody. Nobody's asked me anything. Deanne asked me a while back, and I informed her about the bringing in the personnel lawyer and making signing a statement, but it had to go beyond that to this point. Patricia Soul, you had your hand up for quite a while.
I just wanted to say that the comments that are being made, I just want to make sure you understand, I take ethics to the highest level. I followed the rules. I followed the advice of attorneys, and I know of other deputy positions that have been hired that did not go to the Personnel Committee, and assistants to the chiefs that did not go to the Personnel Committee. The rules were followed very clearly. I am not the attorney. I'm not going to explain any more than that, but it is very insulting when I'm being accused of being unethical, and I am not an unethical person. So thank you very much.
Councilmember Ellis.
Thank you, Mayor. Director Sol, I'm not hearing that anyone is accusing you of being unethical. I just see this as an example where it's a situation where we're close to the wire of we have a policy that says this, and given that that the position is close enough to the mayor that an agreement had to be written, I think that in itself might have or should next time trigger that this goes to the personnel committee, because that's what the personnel committee is for. And my guess is most of the time, these people are qualified, and it's just a matter of process. But that process is so important because, granted, everybody in Aberdeen, we can assume to have the best ethics, but that's not always the case. And it's that reason why there are checks and balances. If I was aware of a legal opinion that just didn't seem right to me, I probably would have gone to MSRC and noodled around for, well, what do they have to say about situations like this? Looking elsewhere for how situations are treated or should be treated. That's part of doing our job, especially when we're concerned about process. I think checks and balances are very important. And what could have been handled.
Okay, there's a lot of other hands up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Short, you've had your hand up for quite a while. Margot?
As I unmute, no, I don't have my hand up. Ah, okay. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
Did you have a comment, Margot?
No.
Okay, Councilmember Catchman?
Yeah, we've had a lot of contentious meetings lately, and I think relationships are strained all around. And I want to say I feel for everyone involved, because it is difficult for somebody to come forward and then somebody to possibly be caught off guard in a public meeting. But I think that there's still opportunity to make this right here. I don't see why we can't go and follow the channels that the council and it's all an interpretation issue. So can we just go back and make it right? It just makes sense. Do the right thing and follow the channels and get this done so we all can sleep better at night and know that this is the way that this went down.
There is still a motion on the floor that has been seconded, by the way.
Jeff Myers, your hand is up also.
Councilmember Richrod has had his hand up for a lot longer than I have.
Okay.
Alan, you're muted.
Now I'm not. Just a point of clarification of the city charter, section 27, deputies appointment thereof. I'll just read the first sentence. The city treasurer, corporate counsel, and city comptroller may each, with the approval of the city council only, appoint such deputies as may be necessary. Is there more clarification that needs to happen on that? it seems pretty clear to me that the council is in those positions, the council is the only one that has the say on it.
I don't have the answer to that. I just was going by what the legal counsel for personnel referred to.
I guess the gist of the concern is if there is a procedure by which people, whether they're relatives or not, are hired for a position, if that procedure is followed, fine. If that procedure is not followed, then why not? We have a problem. This has gone fairly deep, actually, but that was just my concern about it.
Okay. Jeff, did you?
Yes, I want to just acknowledge Councilmember Ellis and Councilmember Richrod have both pointed to the need to follow the correct process. And I believe the correct process was followed here. In May, before this position was interviewed, maybe it was even earlier than that, this council approved the appointment of a deputy by creating that position and approving the job description and approving the salary for that position. The words of the city charter were therefore followed. The city charter does not require confirmation of that individual. And when it requires confirmation of individuals, such as the appointment of department heads, the city charter uses the term confirmation. So the finance director followed the correct procedure in getting the position authorized by this council, getting the salary authorized by this council, and then, as she does with other individuals, following the process of interviewing and selecting that individual. The mayor was not a part of that process at all. It was a committee of 3 others. And the appointment under the city charter is then made by the finance director, not the mayor. And it was followed. Because of the potential concern that that individual could be in the chain of command of the mayor, the outside counsel recommended an agreement, drafted that agreement. It takes the mayor completely out of that person's authority. That person reports to the finance director. And if they have concerns about the finance director, they take those to the HR department, not the mayor. So this person does not report to the mayor and is not subject to the review and authority of the mayor. And therefore, the family hiring policy is complied with.
Okay, thank you.
As I said, I had nothing to do with the hiring. I stayed away from it as much as I could possibly stay away from it. This family person has worked for the city for almost 12 years. And I stayed away from anything that had to do that associated with her position. Right now, I'm feeling this is a personal attack on me. It has nothing to do with the cities. It has to do with this city council not believing staff, not trusting staff, and certainly not trusting the legal counsel that proceeded this direction. So that's where we're at. All I did was follow. In fact, I even went a step
Councilmember
further.
Andrews
I
has her
asked
hand
them
up,
to-
and sir,
yeah.
this is council comments, not the
Will you
mayor's
be
report.
quiet?
Once again, no, I won't. This
This
is
is
council
the floor.
comments.
I'm the mayor.
And
and
Tawny
this is
Andrews
my
has had her
floor
hand
right
up.
now.
Councilmember Meskis, you're not following the city ordinance and allowing the mayor to run the meeting, which is his prerogative as the mayor.
As I said, there's a classic example right there. It's a personal attack. Councilmember Andrews.
Tawny, you're on mute.
All right,
There you
got
go.
it. Sorry about that. I was putting my hand down and trying to unmute at the same time. Anyway, so what attorney gave the opinion? Was it Jeff Myers or was it a different attorney?
It was a different attorney from Summit Law, a completely
Do we
different.
have a contract with Summit Law? Because I don't remember.
We
I don't remember
do.
that coming through council.
We have an agreement with Summit Law for personnel issues.
I'll have to check the minutes, but I don't remember that coming, but I'll check on that one.
Okay, is there anything else?
We still have a motion on the floor that's been seconded.
I don't recognize a motion that was made. If you want a motion, bring it up.
Deanne, would you mind rereading the motion that you requested?
Yes, I would like a motion that the finance director and personnel director bring their recommendation to the personnel committee and the city council as required by our policies and charter.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Under discussion, Councilmember Rich Rod.
We're attempting to bring to reverse this procedure and bring it back through the channels. Is that what we're doing?
I'm just trying to clean up the record and make sure that a very important check and balance in our system is not ignored when somebody, signs an agreement that the council's not privy to. I'm not trying to second guess or say anything about the actual decision that was made. It's about the process and the council being involved. And I don't know how you can argue around the need for an agreement signed by the mayor to give up certain mayoral oversight and then argue that that's not an exception to the personnel policy. And then tell me that that opinion is confidential and the council can't even know. So at some point, we either have exceptions to the personnel policy that are brought to the attention of the city council, or we sit here tonight and acknowledge that it's okay for our personnel policy to be signed away without the council even knowing about it.
Who told you that was confidential and the council couldn't know it?
Did you
I
share
never
that
said
with us,
that.
Mayor? You didn't share that with
I
us.
never said anything about.
The council was not BCC'd on the legal opinion, so we were. cut out
There
of
was
the
a
loop.
confidential legal opinion that I was not allowed to share or talk about with the council.
I don't know who told you that.
Your attorney.
Councilmember Shaw, you were never told that you could not share that memo with other members of the city council.
Then we should have been BCC'd on the first place.
I was asked to address the issue by Councilmember Shaw, so I sent her the memo. The council as a whole didn't authorize anything, much less the disclosure of that confidential memo to outside counsel. And I have a question. One,
I
is it
apologize,
appropriate-
but I would like.
is it
apologize
appropriate
if-
to raise this in council comments, not on the agenda? And two, is there a conflict of interest for council members who may be employed by the outside lawyer's law firm from discussing this matter?
Oh, gee.
So I apologize. I'd like to go back to the original point that there is an employment agreement in place where the mayor has ceded some of his authority to negate a conflict of interest that was not brought to the attention of the personnel committee. And if the council's okay with that, then let's amend our personnel policy so that we no longer have oversight.
Well,
Or
that's
do we want to maintain our oversight and ask politely, which I tried to do so that it never got to this point, that it be brought to the personnel committee and
But
go
that's
through
my
the proper
whole
channels.
point, Deanne, is when I was informed that of the candidates and who they preferred to pick, I asked them to seek legal counsel about it, to get it looked at in our policies. That was the only thing I had to do with any of it. which they did. They went to Summit Law and brought
Mayor,
the
I'm not
case in.
challenging that or even suggesting.
Well, you are.
anything
You
different.
guys won't
I'm
believe
saying that it
staff.
should
You
have
don't
come to the
believe
council.
anything. You-
I'm said it, I think it should have come to the council, and I think that.
What the council's proposing though, is that our policy says something different than the legal counsel.
No, we're
of
just
Summit
asking you to
Law
follow the policy. We're
reported.
asking you to follow the policy. The policy is you bring it to personnel and
We
personnel brings
thought
it
we
to council.
followed the policy. That's what I'm saying. The legal counsel at Summit Law said we were following the necessary policy. But
It was my
Where-
legal
where-
opinion that said that, Mr. Mayor.
what's that?
My legal opinion said that.
Well,
It's been misrepresented here by Ms. Shaw.
right, but originally we got the opinion from Summit Law that we were following policy. And then you were brought in on it. Councilmember Taylor.
Mr. Myers, so was the legal procedure followed that should have been followed? That's my only question.
My opinion and my advice to Councilmember Shaw, to the mayor, to the finance director and the HR director was yes, the policy was complied with and the correct procedures were followed.
Thank you. That's all I need to know.
Is there any other discussion? Councilmember Meskis.
Thank you. I just have one other clarifying question I'd like to ask the president or Council President Shaw. Because I think one of the things that was brought up that hasn't really been addressed too much is that there seems to have been a past precedent set of these positions coming before council. So I would just like to ask Council President Shaw, do you recall a deputy position, deputy clerk or deputy corporation counsel position coming before council in any of your terms in office?
Forrest Morgan. And then 2 years ago, former Mayor Larson wanted to install a deputy clerk, and he was told it had to go to the council. And so we've got a track record of 2 previous separate city attorneys telling mayors that deputy clerks go to the council.
So I would say that there's precedent for this to go through council right there.
And it's not even the deputy clerk part. That, you know, I actually can follow the argument there, although has not been our practice. I can see, and I would rather our practice was respected, but I can follow the argument that yes, technically the council authorized that position to be filled. But of most concern to me is the very clear statement that exceptions to our personnel policy come to the council. And in my view, obviously I'm not a lawyer, and we all know how I got here tonight. So I'll just say, I don't know how you can have a legal agreement in place that acknowledges the exception and the unusual relationship and then consider that not an exception to the policy.
Okay, anybody else? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. City Clerk Sol, do you have a copy of, were you able to write down the motion?
No, but it's on record.
Thank you. Okay. Councilmember Taylor.
One more question, Mr. Myers. I just have a really quick question regarding, you were saying for sharing the information that Deanne shared, what was the repercussions of that?
It's a violation of state law. It's a disclosure of confidential information to an outside party who's not authorized to receive that communication. That is a violation of state law. She could be fined $500, and it's a subject for her forfeiture of office, which makes her subject to potential recall.
Thank you.
Anything else under city council comment period?
Is that going to be pursued or?
If the council wishes to pursue that, they can direct me to do so. I don't intend to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the executive session.
I've got a comment real quick. I just want to bring up that there is a Grays Harbor Stream Team cleanup of Wilson Creek on the east end of Aberdeen Saturday at 10 o'clock. If you want to come help out clean up the area, visit the blue tent. It'll be by the log pool. Okay, thank you.
Next item on this agenda is the executive session. We have two items to consider: the selection of a site or acquisition of real estate by lease or purchase when public knowledge regarding such consideration would cause a likelihood of increased price. The requested time to recess is 45 minutes.
I move we go into recess for executive session.
Second.
Motion is made.
Mayor
Seconded.
Shave, Mayor Shave, real quick, there was a note that got added to our agenda tonight that the chief thinks he only needs 30 minutes.
There's two items to this.
Oh, okay, I apologize.
Thank you. Anything else? Anybody else? Seeing none, all in favor to recess, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Council will recess to executive session for 45 minutes.
Oh, forget it.
Am I in the wrong meeting?